Naoki Urasawa's Monster is a deep piece of realistic and grounded fiction, with some insane reveals that hit harder than most over-the-top world-breaking reveals in other shows. It's hard to explain what's so great about this drama, mystery thriller show about a doctor and a picture book, especially without spoiling the story, but that's what I'm going to do here. Hey everyone, I'm Wheeze. Thanks for watching. Stay to the end of the video where I will tell you where you can watch Monster free without going to shady websites with crappy UI. Currently, there's no legal way to watch it on a streaming service, in America at least, apart from a VPN. This is not a sponsor segment, just a hook. I will only be spoiling events that come up in the first 4 episodes, and I will warn you before I get into the biggest things. I highly recommend watching this blind, but if you are still not convinced, this is why you should watch Monster, or perhaps you'll learn that this is not the show for you. Monster starts as a realistic drama set in 1986, as Kenzo Tenma, an extremely successful Japanese neurosurgeon, works in a hospital in Germany. He has a great life. He is engaged to the hospital director's daughter, and he is getting a promotion because he is an incredibly skilled surgeon. However, the drama starts when Tenma is confronted by a Turkish woman who complains that he worked on a famous opera singer instead of her husband, who came into the hospital earlier. Her husband died, and Tenma was originally going to perform his surgery, until the famous person came in and the director prioritized their treatment, in essence, saving the more important person. While Tenma was simply doing what he was told, he felt conscience-stricken and brings up the subject to his fiancée, who agrees with her father's decision and says not all human lives are equal. Later, Tenma gets in a strange case as a boy was shot in the head. He, along with his sister, were adopted by the Lieberts, who were both found dead. Johann, the boy, survived the initial attack, and his sister was in shock but physically unharmed. As Tenma goes to operate on him, he is called away as the mayor collapsed and needed an operation. Tenma decides to work on the patients as they came in, believing no life is worth more than another. He disobeys his orders and saves the life of Johann. Later, the mayor dies. This political official had been very supportive of the hospital financially, and the hospital director is very displeased with Tenma. He is demoted, and his fiancée breaks off the relationship, seeing as he is taking a pay cut. Meanwhile, the investigation of the Liebert's death goes nowhere, and the killer is never found. Alright, if this hasn't hooked you, keep watching. Otherwise, watch the series because I'm going to get into a little more shocking spoiler territory here. It's definitely worth watching the first 4 episodes to see if this is a show for you. Also, content warning, this show is only for adults. With his life falling apart, Tenma gets drunk and complains about the selfish doctors who play politics and don't truly care about their patients. Meanwhile, the doctor taking Tenma's position, Tenma's supervisor who gave him the orders to work on the more important patients, and the hospital director were all found dead as they together ate poison candy. This murder is also not solved. While this tragedy occurred that hurt the hospital, it only helped Tenma's career as he was quickly and rightly promoted. Meanwhile, the boy Tenma saved and his sister both disappeared. 10 years later, Tenma is still working his dream job without any success or interest in finding another female companion. He gets a patient named Adolf Junkers, a man suspected for being involved in several recent murders as a lockpick, opening doors to the houses of the victims. He won't confess everything to the police, but he is paranoid that a monster is coming for him as his partners were killed. Adolf's injuries were a result of him being attacked by the monster. Tenma builds a relationship with him, and Adolf is convinced to admit his crimes. However, when the criminal decided to tell the guard, he found him dead. In a panic, he runs from the hospital, assuming the one who hired him to assist in the murders, the monster, was responsible. Tenma sees Adolf running from the hospital and gives chase. He is led to an abandoned building and he encounters the monster. The handsome young man has a pistol and is ready to murder Adolf. When he sees Tenma, he mentions the doctor saving his life as a child. The monster is Johann. By doing the right thing and saving the boy over the mayor, Tenma saved a serial killer who is responsible not only for the murders in the couple's houses that Adolf broke into, but also for the hospital personnel and the Lieberts. Tenma begs Johann not to kill Adolf, but Johann pulls the trigger, shooting him multiple times. As he walks past Tenma, he says, "I should have died back then, but you brought me back to life, doctor." This hooked me in so quickly. These first 4 episodes are a masterclass on how to create meaningful conflict, especially with complex characters. I didn't even touch on how Tenma was angry and audibly complained that those doctors were better off dead in front of Johann, who he thought was still unconscious. Johann then brought that wish to fruition. The rest of the story is a masterclass on writing, as Urasawa weaves several storylines together, introducing many instantly likable characters, using drama to make them interesting and realistic, while having a thread that attaches them to the main plot. The story is very based in reality and is very mature. While intense violence and sexual situations are shown, it isn't often, and it's only used to heighten the experience or show the real-world influences of the story. This is definitely not a show for children, but even if there weren't graphic scenes, the themes involve very mature subjects. Philosophy on the value of life, how to be happy, dealing with addictions, and overcoming past mistakes are just a few of the themes that penetrate the story of Monster. I feel like this is a show that I could rewatch in 15, 30, and 50 years from now and still get more out of it, as it has such a good grasp of the nature of humanity. Alright, with all the praise out of the way, I should talk about reasons you might not want to watch the show. I don't think these detract from the value of it, just this isn't for everyone. First, I already mentioned the adult content, so if nudity and some disturbing situations and violence would bother you, you may not want to watch this. Next, this show is a slow burn. Drama is what I would consider the main genre of the show. It focuses heavily on character and takes its time introducing each one, which makes some episodes a little rough to get into, but making me care for almost every side character made the time spent worth it. This show is very realistic. If this was based off of real events, I would believe it. The setting is real, and from what I've seen, it is a very accurate depiction of Germany in this time period. It is not an escapist show at all, and does not hesitate to show you how twisted our world is. Lastly, the main genre is drama, but the others would be thriller, mystery, which are very evident in certain arcs of the show. You do have to pay attention and piece together a lot of what is happening, but it was done very well. I never got lost through the many backstories and puzzle pieces that fit together throughout the story. Some arcs were better than others, but I can't think of one arc I didn't like. Some of my very few criticisms are for very spoilery parts of the show, and I don't want to talk about them here. Overall, this show is a masterpiece. Go watch it. But where can I watch it, you may ask? That's a great question. Currently, there's no legal streaming site that has Monster, and no one owns the rights for it in America, as far as I know. This may change, so this information could be out of date, but you can watch the entirety of Monster in sub or dub, except oddly a few minutes of one episode on sub, right here on YouTube. It has a lot of views and has been up for almost 2 years, so I suspect they won't be taking it down anytime soon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope I've convinced you to watch Monster. It is a really great series and deserves more love. I want to read the manga because it also looks amazing. You can check me out on all the places in the description, and if you want more anime content from me, consider subscribing and liking the video to help me out. Have a great rest of your day. Ciao meow.